On our walk, we went to the Lakefield Rail Trail just behind Otonabee. The first thing that we saw was the small pond that had a lot of life in it, such as tadpoles and such. We also saw silverfish in the pond, as well as various shrubs and plant life around the pond and trees in the distance.
And just surrounding the pond, we came across a hawk, and it was like circling around the vicinity, and we assumed that it was hunting.
As we went on our walk, we came across an open trail. We started walking down it, and as we did, we saw a bunch of trees that had started to lose their leaves as it stopped being summer and started being fall.
And so this is like the open field, and from what I sensed was that because this was taken back in September, it's very diverse, a lot of bright green colors, and it just looks very pretty. And plus, in the distance, you could see just how far the ground goes. Like it like there's large hills, and you can see like trees further back, and it's just like a very nice scene. So further into the walk, we came across these berries, and that alone kind of like shows us that there's probably bears present in the area, and probably birds, because the
leaves of
any sort of living creature is able to feed off of this,
the leaves on
and
this tree
be able to
completely
survive
shed. That's the only thing that remains of
in
it.
this sort of climate.
And then a couple of weeks later, when we went back on the walk, we could see that a lot of the trees had started turning colors and are completely devoid of leaves and such. And there's not as much wildlife that we saw. We didn't see as much this time. And also, as we walked, we came across this little thing that goes under the path, which we assumed was for animals to cross under, that wildlife could go under there. Very diverse, different kind of wildlife and such.
So back a couple of weeks before we entered the forest into the trail, again we're seeing a lot of trees and just how different sort of plants and other living creatures are there, from mosses to different species of trees, and there's also a lot of dead matter on the ground, and that kind of shows us how this community, how this living community around here is so diverse that it also provides us with a form of shelter from the shade of from the sun rays and such. It protects other living creatures like beavers and otters from the rain when it gets super rainy. And another interesting thing about that is that from the dead matter that has fallen over the trees, that also kind of naturally gives a form of shelter to any other living creature that may have come across this area.
We also saw, when we were in the forest, a dilapidated piece of barbed wire fence. This was interesting to us because it no longer provides the purpose that it had of keeping people away from the forest, but instead could provide shelter for animals that live there and allow them more free access to the forest.
So at the final part of our trail walk, we actually came across a large river, and the water was just flowing very rapidly because of the wind. And along with that, we actually saw a huge flock of geese just all collected together as a community. And we basically assumed that it was because of the potential fishes that could be living in the river. And so it just kind of shows us how there's a vast flow of nature that's just moving. So how I feel about this whole trail experience was that specifically at the part where we reached the open fields where there was those large commercial wires, I felt apart from the fact that there's a trail that's made obviously by humans, I feel like that area must have been just an open field where it was just nothing but grass and different and all sorts of vegetation, and that kind of allows me to feel like I'm able to connect more with nature from that aspect.
On the first walk we went on, I did what the Newhouse reading said most people do. I looked at the land to gain knowledge and did not read the land. I noticed this is something I do a lot in my daily life, so when we went back on the walk, I viewed the land differently. I used the 4 quadrants of the medicine circle to let the land speak to me. Physically, I saw animals and habitats. It made me wonder what kind of life lived here in the past. Mentally, I felt connected to the land and all the people and things that lived there before me. Emotionally, I felt at peace, almost removed from the daily stresses of life. Spiritually, I felt as if the land was speaking to me in a way, telling me to stop looking at things so hard. Stop looking at them with the intention of gaining knowledge like I do in class, but look at things for what they are and what they were. Because of the experience I was given, it is now my job to make sure I take better care of the land that I am fortunate enough to be allowed to stand on. Since we all are related in the medicine circle, connected by the land, we must all also care for it.